and I'm not going to hopefully take up a lot of your time, but I wanted to offer you a few things from a different book about issues of media, because it's so relevant to everything that we're going to be saying in the future, and it's still relevant to things we've said in the past. So this stuff is not in the book. It is in this book that I used in my persuasion class called Persuasion in the Media Age, and I do have that new PowerPoint on KC for you. It is a delightful little PowerPoint. Extra stuff on media, not really in book. Okay. From Persuasion in the Media Age by Borchers. There you go. That's the book. Your war, your way. This must be some sort of video game. 2016 Hardee's Restaurant. All rights reserved. There, see? Rights. Okay. Y'all know that things have changed in politics and political communication, particularly since the advent of contemporary mass media, and a lot since the 60s. And stuff became more televised, blah, blah, blah. Some of the big pictures here that Borchers talks about is that because of media, candidates tend to take messages straight to the people through television, now through social media, blah, blah, blah. It didn't used to be that way. Party officials and political party leaders used to have a whole lot more power. Not so much anymore. Look at Trump. A lot of the Republican elders and party leaders didn't want Trump. Did Trump win the nomination? Yeah. How? He took it to the people. And the people ate him up like a big Trump piece of steak. Trump steak. It's a moving experience to eat that Trump steak. I wonder if that's what they served at Trump University. Have some Trump steak. I really like A1 steak sauce. And also, candidates, obviously, you're always going for the undecided voters, and they aim to win over the undecided voters, for the most part, via media. Reaching them nowadays through Twitter, through texting, through, whatever, through having commercials all over the place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But things have changed. So media is very, very important, obviously, to think about contemporary political communication generally, and more specifically, to think about campaign communication and campaigning generally. And don't change that dial, because there's more to come right after this message. Hardee's. Okay, so news media coverage. News, and this is all sort of good, solid gold theory concept stuff. News is melodrama. That's important to note. And the researchers have talked about this. So basically, a melodrama has 4 aspects, says Hovind. Dramatic conflict, simple and familiar plots, simple and predictable character development, eye-catching visuals. He observed in his research that television news during the 1996 presidential campaign, or he looked at those and compared the variables of, dramatic conflict, simple and familiar plots, simple and predictable character development, compared those variables to soap opera, Days of Our Lives, and talk show Oprah. He found that the news exhibited more elements of melodrama than did the soap opera or the talk show. So the news covers this stuff and makes it all about conflict and very, very visual. Campaigning is a soap opera. You know why they call soap operas? Because they sell soap to make the world clean. News is melodrama. So what we and this creates our sense of reality. It's a big contest. It's dramatic. I like to see the visuals of people fainting and hair going woo, and that's problematic because it's not a drama. It's America. Campaign as horse race is sort of the second thing that they say, or aborters say, that we need to understand. And that is the news, and this is all under news media coverage research. Basically, part of the process of making this all melodramatic is framing the entire thing as a horse race. This person against this person. And the two-party system sort of allows us to do that. But of course, they always sort of try to get rid of any sort of all the other horses. We only want two horses. Yay and nay. So basically, the media, what they say here is media coverage that focuses on who is winning and who is losing prevents the public from learning about the candidates' policy stance. It's all about who's winning and who's losing, not what they stand for. This type of coverage also requires speculation on the part of so-called political experts. And lots of folks, like Patterson, is highly critical of this type of coverage. He argues that media sources are highly cynical of politicians and in particular campaign promises. As a result, the public holds a cynical view towards politics, which is problematic in lots of ways. We all sort of think that politicians are a bunch of liars. But that, in a lot of ways, is constructed for us via news coverage. There's lots of good people in politics. There's lots of bad people in politics. But they, okay. So that also is very, very problematic. And the final sort of thing to think about in news media coverage, research, news is interpretation, not just so-called reporting, if there ever can be possibly sort of objective so-called reporting. But all of the folks, the anchors, whatever, the opinion makers, the blah, 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 they always interpret things for us. So they give us a slant. Everything is slanted. And basically this is one of the things that Leichter, Knowles, and Cade say is that because more time is taken by media sources to offer their interpretations, there's less time to hear the voices of the actual candidates. All we hear is sound bites, and then news folks sort of telling us what those sound bites mean. And that can be problematic. They're shaping the way we think about things, and they're hiding stuff from us in a way, because what shows always hides. So the media itself, and I'm not going to poo-poo all media and stuff like that. NPR rocks, PBS rocks, Fraggle rocks, but you know, this is the context in which our contemporary political communication sort of exists in, and political communication is created through in this stuff. So, and it's really, really problematic. But just know, this is what's going on, and we need to try to combat a lot of this stuff to make our world a better place, America. Politicians, political consultants, and the media. When you've got political consultants working for politicians and trying to get stuff out, obviously they're trying to get out the message of the candidate. But this is what the research says. Really, the two types of communication, the two types of messages, one could say, image and issues, but perhaps image is most important. What is an image? You know what an image is? It's an overall perception of how you have of your candidate. What is your image of Hillary Clinton? What is your image of Donald Trump? And oftentimes it has very little to do with where they stand. Well, it's where they actually stand, but where they stand on the positions. They say image is created by a variety of factors: manner of speaking, appearance, character, and how we perceive character. And all. So, in a lot of ways, we focus too much on character and image, and these candidates become themselves sort of like little products. Like Hardee's. Hardee's has an image. What do you think when you think about Hardee's? Well, there's contradictory images. You think these terrible commercials and charcoal burgers and that are good. But so it is really problematic that that we rely, they build and create images for us to suck in, and this is one of the big points here. Our reliance on images in political communication raises troubling questions for our democracy, according to some experts. First, there is no check on the truthfulness of the image, because the image is just a perception. I'm a hard worker. I'm a good person. I want to make America great again. But how can you fact check an image? Jameson argues that the 1988 presidential campaign in particular revealed weaknesses in defense systems against political whatever. But yeah, so basically, a lot of issues of character and everything like that are character can be easily misrepresented represented in various commercials, blah 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 blah. So it's hard to check image, hard to question image. Second, the public has difficulty discerning the credibility of images which we are confronted. Sometimes, I mean, look at the way that news is covering the images because gender now is part of that image. The credibility of a political image lies not in some independent check on its accuracy, but in its past success as a news formula. Trump as a show person, it's become a reality show.